Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Belfast First Church of the Nazarene. We thank you again for joining with us today for another online message. And I don't know about you watching this message today, but personally speaking, this last week, it just seems to have been a week of just chaos. So much has been going on within my own family. So much has been happening in the church and among friends, and it just seems to be on our church support group. We have just it seems to be one prayer request after another. There's just so much sickness, so much need in our church and among our families, and a lot of stress and worry and panic and fear and all those kinds of things that go along with that. And for me, this past week especially, it just seems to be what next. Each phone call I receive, each message, each voicemail I listen to, I just think, what's this going to be? And yes, it's vital that we're praying together. It's great we have the WhatsApp group for the church, and in this time of lockdown, we're able to share the needs that we have with one another and to pray together and support one another. That's important we do that. And we will keep remembering and we will keep praying for all of our loved ones and all of those needs that we're receiving. But you know what? This past week, God has quietly reminded me, in the midst of my own fear and my own anxiety and worry and panic this week, God's reminded me that His peace is with me. His perfect peace is with me. No matter what's going on, God is still here. You know, God's peace is with every one of us in our own worries and our needs that we have as well. And I'm sure, just like myself this past week, many of you can testify to how God has been with you, maybe this past week or even through the last number of months or through whatever circumstances that each of us have been through. We can all testify to God's peace being with us and bringing us through it. I shared a couple of weeks ago about the giants that we face in our lives. Remember, David defeated the giant Goliath. And then we might think that that's it. Once that giant's defeated, that's it. But I shared a few weeks back that giants can return again. We just don't know what's around the corner, and just the news that we can get, we just can take us by surprise. But God is always with us. God is always with us. I want to read one verse to you today about the peace of God. That's a verse that really spoke to me and reminded me this past week of God's peace in our circumstances. That's from the Gospel of John. John chapter 14, verse 27. It might be familiar to most of you. And it says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not let them be afraid." You know, before children even learn to talk, they can become accustomed to the vibes of family life. Children from no age at all, they can sense when family life is settled. They know when things are happy. They know when family life is peaceful. But on the other hand, they know when there's tension. They know when there's a crisis, when there's chaos in the family. And parents play a big role in families. If they're happy, the children have a sense of peace. But unrest, anger, fear, anxiety, stress, panic, all those things can cause a lot of unrest, and children sense that. You know, in life, every one of us will experience times when we are not at peace. Could be stress in our workplace, stress working from home, which is most likely the case lately. Perhaps there's tension in our marriage. It could be problems in our family lives. Could be facing certain difficulties. Maybe it could be health problems of our own, or health problems we're worried about loved ones. Financial troubles, job loss, or job concerns. Whatever might be going on in our lives. And it could even be this pandemic, this lockdown, and it's just really starting to get to us now. All of these things, and much more than I've mentioned, can rob us of our peace. So here's a question for us to think about. How do we find peace in an imperfect world? How do we find peace in an imperfect world? How can we find peace when everything just seems to be on top of us? And we are getting bad news. Well, it all starts when we make a practice of lifting every experience we go through up to God and asking God for his perspective on it. You know, God's big enough to hear the cries of our hearts. He's big enough to listen to our worries, to hear our fears. Isaiah 1 verse 18, and God said to the prophet, "Come and let us reason together." God was saying, let's talk it out. Let me listen to what's on your heart. God knows exactly what we're thinking. He knows what we're going through before we even bring it to him. As our Heavenly Father, he gives us his peace into our hearts and into our families and into our situations and the circumstances that we face. If you think of this illustration just for a moment, you picture a tiny canoe out in the middle of the ocean, being thrown about by every little wave that comes its way. And on the same ocean, a big cruise ship can just slice through the stormy sea with so much ease. And the turbulence barely even registers with that big ship. You know, it's a bit like this when it comes to our lives as Christians. The more we grow in our relationship with Christ, our peace grows with that. And sometimes those things that used to set us off so easily, those moments that we go through that used to get us really stressed and get us really angry or panic, and the more we grow in our faith, those things no longer bother us in the way they used to. We're able to respond to crying babies, to temper tantrums, to terrible teenagers, to burnt toast. And just those everyday stresses of family life, we can respond to that. But not only that, when the big storms hit our lives, when our life is rocked with bad news, with sickness, with fear and worries for loved ones, with job losses, with family crisis, with fallouts, whatever life throws at us, we still have the same peace of God in those days too. No matter what we face in life, God says, "My peace I leave with you. My peace I give you." The peace that Jesus gives to all Christians is not the same peace that the world offers. The peace of God is the only real peace we could ever have. To have this peace, that doesn't mean we'll never have trouble, but we will have God's peace with us in our troubles. We have this peace when we're ill, when we're in pain. We have this peace when people hurt us or reject us. We have this peace that comforts us through all that we will go through in life. even the most traumatic experiences or crisis or shock that hits our lives, God's peace is with us. Nothing or nobody in the world can give this peace to us. Only God can give that. He gives his peace to us, not what the world offers, but his peace. He offers his perfect peace to all who believe in him. I trust today all of us who are watching can place our trust and our lives into the hands of Jesus, the one who gives peace, not like the world offers, but his perfect peace for all seasons of our lives. May God bless you all today. Thank you again for watching. Take care. God bless.